How's it going, folks? I know you hear the music playing in the background. Volume's up pretty good. The reason it's not shaking the truck or shaking the camera or the bass overpowering the microphone on the camera, I have to show you that. Just to be clear, that's where I usually listen to it at. That's usually the volume level I listen to it at. Of course, it sounds pretty lame, huh? Let me show you why. Alright, now I've told you in videos past, if you've watched them, my under the hood videos, basically the way this is set up, got your factory battery, 260 amp police package alternator, the cable comes to here, and this big monster sucker actually is one that I put in, 6 gauge, to go across to this battery. Now, I've got it hooked up to where when it comes off of here, the positive side, there's a 100 amp fuse right here. There's another 100 amp fuse down at the firewall. There's one right beside the driver's seat and one just before the capacitor. So there's a fuse every 3 or 4 feet in the cable. The fuses actually saved my stereo system today. I was really cranking. I mean, I had it wrenched and it was just pounding. And I want you to see what it actually did. This is why you don't buy the Scotia Walmart stuff. See how melted that is? Of course, now keep in mind too, just to be fair, this is right at 4 years old. But I mean, it just fried it. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get that cable back out of there. I'm probably just gonna have to cut a new end for it. But yeah, it baked it. So, got a rehab show to go to tonight. Before I can do that, I've got to do surgery, because there's no way I'm driving 2.5 hours to a show with no decent tunes. Okay, so I looked for my line splicer, another fuse block. Don't know what I did with it. No clue. So I'm on my way out to buy another one. They're not that expensive, but just could have had some better timing. So basically, you get what you paid for when it comes to those blocks. Again, like I said, that one lasted 4 or 5 years, 4 years. I mean, but it's the cheaper one. It's the one that you can go to Walmart and buy. Which, because of me being crunched for time tonight, is exactly what I'm doing. I apologize about the lighting, but don't really control this lighting. Someone saw fit to not let me have decent lighting for this video this afternoon. So I do apologize, but I haven't got my LEDs hooked up yet. Once I get those hooked up, it won't matter how light or dark it is outside. Plan on putting them all across the dash, pointing up towards me. Bought me a little kit, like 10 bucks. Figure I'll throw a switch on them and mount them up on the dash, the gauge kit, facing back this way to where they're not super bright, hopefully, shining directly in my eyes while I'm trying to drive. But we'll see how they go. If they're too awful bright, I may only need to use one. But I'm wanting their LEDs so they won't kill the power. Won't have to have a super hefty fuse on them. And it should make it to where I can do video driving down the road at night with the windows up, and you won't have to hear the road noise, so that you'll be able to see me. Kind of got a little mad rush going. It's 5:30. Show starts at 8. I've got to leave here in about 30 minutes. Probably going to be late for this one, which means I probably won't get to talk to Danny at all. And that's part of the reason I go to these shows. How can we be asked to obey the law when the cops don't? For one, that's not a parking space. For two, if it was, nice. Okay, so I get to eat crow. I wondered about that. Keep in mind, this is a cheap one. Look how cheap. It's the same one I had before. Actually, that's a little bigger. Had one similar to this too. I'm not paying $20 for that one, and it's still a skosh. Plus it won't hold a big enough cable. This other one will. Oh heck, Walmart getting fancy now. Competition kicker 12, $89. Five and a quarter, $54.92. 6.5, $64.92. Huh. Amplifier, 250 watts max, and not even close. 6x9 3-way, $74.92. These are all competition. 10-inch, $79.92. Explode, you can keep it. Pioneer, you can keep it. But them carrying kicker, competition kicker, that's pretty tough. Okay, so somebody complained too before that I never show me doing the work. And part of that is because a lot of this is hard to do one-handed. And a lot of times when I'm doing it, it's really dark out, like tonight. There's that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this back. There's the tip, but that's the tip of the wire. But it's got all that plastic melted around it too. And this side's gonna be just as bad, probably. So, unfortunately, because I'm gonna have to have both hands for that, I won't get to show it, but I'll cut it back on here in a minute once I get it done. Okay, so the other side is cracked. There's a crack coming down through right there. but I don't know if you can see real well there. Yeah, it cooked that thing. It didn't cook it because there's a short in the line. I guess there was just too much current going through it, because according to this one says it's only a 40 or 80 amp fuse holder. $100 amp fuse. Of course, this isn't the exact same thing either. Pretty darn close, but it's not the exact one. So anyhow, we'll get this one stabbed in here and hopefully get on the road soon. Just for giggles, I pulled this thing apart, and yeah, part of what's melted was that fuse. So now I've got to check all my lines to make sure none of them are actually melted or rubbed through and touching metal. That's the only reason that it would actually fry that. But here's a new one with an 80 amp fuse. If it pops it, then I'll know something's up. Just leave it blown. But here goes. And there we have it, all fresh and installed. Of course, I don't have it mounted down. I left it up like this so that I could show you. Basically, fold it down and mount it to the firewall, or the fender well, right down there. Probably can't see that because it's too dark out here, but I mount it right there below the battery terminal to the fender well, because kind of figured out the bottoms of these, even though they're covered in plastic before that bit melts off, will actually make contact with the battery terminals and the fender well. So you actually have to have some kind of protective coating on there, and I know they probably won't, but it'd be nice if Scosh would watch this and see that because they don't put that bottom plate of plastic on there, people's stuff melts down. That could have cost me a couple $100 worth of amps. Easily. I mean, it was bad enough that it actually melted, and I mean literally melted, a 100 amp fuse. And it was cranking right up to the point that it melted it too. I mean, just thumping. But anyway, that's the end of that fiasco. Now for the test. Alright, here are the subs warming up. Don't go any higher than 32 because it actually distorts at 32. So anyway, we're working again. Go fasten everything down and hit the road.